Admiral Hyun-woo Park stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, watching the morning reports scroll across the holographic displays. Coffee steamed in his cup as he reviewed routine patrol schedules and cargo ship movements. It was Tuesday, and like most Tuesdays, everything seemed normal in human space. The first alarm came at 8:47 hours. "Admiral, we're getting strange signals from the Hanseong colony," Lieutenant Taeho Kim called from his communication station. His young face looked confused. They're screaming, sir." Hyun-woo set down his coffee and walked over to the communications array. The speakers crackled with static, then cleared to reveal voices shouting in Korean and English. Children crying, adults pleading for help, the sounds of explosions echoing in the background. "Put it on the main screen," Hyun-woo ordered. The central display flickered to life, showing the main plaza of Hanseong Colony. What they saw made everyone in the command center freeze. Strange ships filled the sky above the city, sleek and silver with glowing red markings. Beams of purple light shot down from the ships, and wherever they touched, people simply vanished. Not killed, vanished. Their clothes fell empty to the ground. "Sir," Communications Officer So Ra-yoon said, her voice shaking. "I'm getting similar reports from New Busan, Jeju Station, and 7 other colonies." Hyun-woo felt ice form in his stomach. 10 colonies, all under attack at the same time. This was not random piracy or local conflicts. This was coordinated war. "Get me President Jin-A Park on the emergency line," he commanded, "and contact all defense fleets. Tell them to—" The transmission from Hanseong cut to black, then impossibly it returned. But now the image showed something different. The camera was no longer in human hands. A creature appeared on screen that made several officers step back in shock. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, with gray skin that looked like leather. Its face was long and narrow, with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. When it spoke, its voice was translated by some kind of device. "Humans of Earth," the creature said, its 4 eyes staring directly into the camera. "I am War Commander Vexthar of the Corvani Galactic Empire. You are watching the first lesson in your species' education." The camera turned away from the alien and panned across the colony plaza. Bodies lay everywhere, but they were not human bodies. They were the gray corpses of colonists who had been changed somehow, transformed into something alien before being killed. "Your people on this world fought us," Vexthar continued, "so we gave them a choice. Become like us through our transformation process, or die as the inferior species you are. Most chose death. How disappointing." Dr. Yoon-ji Kim burst into the command center at that moment, still wearing her laboratory coat. She was Earth's leading expert on alien biology, though until today that had been mostly theoretical work. "Admiral, what's happening?" she asked, then saw the screen and stopped talking. Vexthar was now standing over a human child, maybe 10 years old. The child was crying, reaching for what had been his parents before the transformation and death. "This young one will serve as an example," the alien said. "Watch carefully, humans of Earth. This is your future." What happened next made Dr. Yoon-ji cover her mouth to keep from screaming. Several officers turned away from the screen. Admiral Hyun-woo forced himself to watch every second, burning the image into his memory. When it was over, Vexthar looked back at the camera. "This same lesson is being taught on 10 of your worlds today. We broadcast this across all human communication networks so every one of your species can learn. Submit to the Corvani Empire and death will be quick. Resist, and we will make you watch your children suffer first." The transmission shifted to split screen, showing similar scenes from all 10 colonies under attack. New Busan, Jeju Station, Hanbok Settlement. Each one showed Corvani forces methodically killing human civilians while forcing others to watch. Minister So Young Choi ran into the command center. Her face was white with shock. "Admiral, my daughter is on New Seoul Colony. I can't reach her." On the screen, New Seoul appeared in one of the panels. The beautiful domed city that housed 5 million people was burning. Corvani ships circled it like vultures. "Transmission coming in from all colony worlds, sir," Lieutenant Taeho reported. "The attacks are synchronized. Same time, same methods." For 6 hours, Earth watched as the Corvani Empire systematically murdered 10 billion human beings. They did not just kill quickly. They made it a show. Families were forced to choose which members would die first. Children were made to watch their parents be transformed into alien creatures before being executed. The elderly were used for target practice. The Corvani filmed everything. They broadcast every scream, every plea for mercy, every moment of human suffering to the entire galaxy. Dr. Yunji found herself taking notes, even as tears ran down her face. The scientist in her observed that the Corvani had studied human psychology carefully. They knew exactly how to cause maximum emotional damage to those watching. Minister So Young received confirmation that her daughter was dead 3 hours into the broadcast. She did not cry. She did not scream. She just stood there staring at the screen with empty eyes. When it was over, when the last human voice fell silent on the last colony world, Vexthar appeared on screen one final time. 10 billion of your species died today, he announced. This was not war. This was education. Your species has been expanding too quickly, claiming too many worlds that belong to the Corvani Empire. Today you learned the price of defying us. He paused, his 4 eyes seeming to look directly at Admiral Hyunwoo through the screen. You have 48 hours to send representatives to our nearest military base to discuss terms of surrender. If you do not, we will visit 10 more of your worlds. Then 20. Then 50. We will continue until every human in the galaxy is dead or serves the Empire. The transmission ended. The command center fell completely silent except for the hum of computers and the quiet sobbing of some officers. Admiral Hyunwoo stood still for a long moment, staring at the blank screen. Around him, his staff waited for orders. Outside, he could hear Earth's emergency sirens beginning to wail as the news spread across the planet. Dr. Yunji approached him carefully. Admiral, I need to tell you something. I've been working on a classified project, something that could help us respond to this. He turned to look at her. What kind of project? Biological warfare, specifically designed to target non-human genetics. She lowered her voice. We called it Project Nemesis. It was theoretical until now. Minister So Young looked up from her tablet where she had been reading casualty reports. Admiral, the President is calling an emergency session. The government wants to discuss surrender terms. Hyunwoo looked around the command center. He saw fear in every face. He saw grief. He saw shock. But he also saw something else growing in their eyes. Something dangerous, Dr. Kim, he said quietly. How quickly can you make Project Nemesis into something real? With unlimited resources? 6 months, maybe less. You'll have them. He turned to Minister So Young. Tell the President I'll be there in an hour. But first, I want you to send a message to all surviving human colonies in Earth's defensive fleets. What message, sir? Admiral Hyunwoo looked back at the screen where 10 billion people had died while the galaxy watched. Tell them that the Corvani want to see what humans are capable of when we're angry. Tell them we're about to show them. 6 months after the massacre, Earth had become a world transformed. Every factory, every laboratory, every resource was focused on one goal: making the Corvani Empire pay for what they had done. Dr. Yunji Kim walked through the underground corridors of the new Strategic Warfare Institute. Built deep beneath the mountains of South Korea, the facility operated 24 hours a day, filled with Earth's brightest scientists working on Project Nemesis. She had not slept more than 4 hours in any single night since the broadcast ended. Dr. Kim, we have the latest test results, called Dr. Jun Ho-yoon, her lead biochemist. He looked as tired as she felt, but his eyes held the same burning focus that drove everyone in the facility. Yunji followed him to the secured laboratory where they kept captured Corvani biological samples. Getting those samples had cost the lives of 12 soldiers in a raid on a Corvani outpost. But the information they provided was priceless. The virus is working better than we hoped, Junho explained, pointing to the data on his screen. It targets the specific protein chains that all Corvani subspecies share. One exposure and their immune systems completely collapse within 72 hours. What about other species? Yunji asked. This was the question that kept her awake at night. Any chance it could affect non-Corvani aliens? Some risk with species that share similar genetic markers. Maybe 2% of known galactic life forms. But Dr. Kim, Junho's voice became harder. After what they did to us, does it matter? Yunji did not answer immediately. She thought about the videos that still played in her nightmares. The sounds of children screaming. The sight of her colleague's daughter being murdered on live broadcast. Keep working, she said finally. Make it as precise as possible. But priority is effectiveness against Corvani targets. Across the facility, Commander Ji-Hai Kang was testing weapon systems that would deliver the biological weapon. She had designed missile warheads that could spread the virus through atmosphere and water supplies. Her team had created aerosol bombs that could contaminate entire cities in minutes. How many Corvani worlds are we talking about? Ji-Hai asked Admiral Hyunwoo during their weekly briefing. Intelligence estimates 400 major population centers, he replied. Maybe 800 billion Corvani total across their empire. Ji-Hai nodded and made notes. We'll need at least 2,000 delivery systems to ensure complete coverage. I can have them ready in 2 months. Above ground, the rest of Earth worked with the same desperate energy. Shipyards that once built cargo vessels now produced warships. Mining operations extracted materials at dangerous speeds to feed the war machine. Every human colony sent resources and volunteers. Captain Taemin Lee commanded the EDF battleship Retribution, one of 50 new warships built specifically for the coming conflict. His ship was equipped with experimental stealth technology that made it nearly invisible to Corvani sensors. Sir, we're getting reports from the resistance networks. His communications officer reported during a routine patrol. The resistance networks were groups of humans who had survived the initial attacks by hiding in caves, abandoned buildings, or other places the Corvani had not bothered to search. Lieutenant Dong Hyun-song led one of the largest groups on the former colony world of Hansong. Dong Hyun and his 43 survivors lived in underground tunnels beneath the ruined city. They had managed to keep a secret communication array working, sending intelligence back to Earth about Corvani movements and habits. They're getting sloppy, Dong Hyun reported in his latest transmission. The Corvani think they won, so they're not being as careful. They've turned our former cities into entertainment centers, where they broadcast recordings of the massacres to other worlds. This intelligence was exactly what Dr. Yoonji needed. The broadcasts showed different Corvani subspecies, giving her team more genetic information to work with. It also revealed something important. The aliens were proud of what they had done. They wanted the entire galaxy to see how they had crushed humanity. They're making a mistake, Admiral Hyunwoo said during a meeting with his senior staff. They think fear will keep other species in line. But some aliens are starting to contact us secretly. Ambassador Hyarim had been working for months to build alliances with other species that hated the Corvani Empire. The Zalani Republic had lost 3 worlds to Corvani expansion. The Thorgan communes had been forced to pay tribute to the Empire for decades. They want to help us fight, Hyarim reported. But they're afraid. They've never seen anyone successfully resist the Corvani before. They will, Admiral Hyunwoo promised. When we're ready. The preparation involved more than just weapons. Colonel Min Soo-han trained the new Human Liberation Corps, special forces designed to rescue any surviving humans from occupied worlds. These soldiers trained in conditions that simulated the hell of Corvani-controlled planets. Remember, Min Soo told his trainees, our people have been living in hiding for 6 months. They're starving, scared, and traumatized. Some may not trust that we're really human. The Corvani have been using holographic disguises to trick survivors into revealing themselves. Agent Soo-jin Bae had the most dangerous job of all. Using captured Corvani technology, she had undergone surgical alterations to make her appear like one of the Empire's slave species. Her mission was to infiltrate Corvani communication centers and gather intelligence about their military positions. Her reports painted a picture of an empire that felt completely secure. The Corvani military had returned to normal patrol schedules. They were building entertainment complexes on the worlds where they had committed genocide, turning human suffering into tourist attractions for other species in their empire. They have no idea what's coming, Soo-jin transmitted from deep inside Corvani space. They think humans are finished as a military threat. While the weapons and intelligence gathered, families across Earth and the surviving colonies mourned their dead and hardened their hearts for what was coming. Memorial walls in every city listed the names of the 10 billion murdered. People left flowers and personal items, but also left messages of rage and promises of revenge. Minister So Young-choi had become the unofficial voice of human grief and anger. She spoke at rallies where citizens volunteered for dangerous work in weapons factories, or signed up for military service. My daughter was 8 years old, she told a crowd of 50,000 in Seoul. She wanted to be a teacher. She loved drawing pictures of flowers. The Corvani made me watch them kill her on live broadcast because they wanted to break our spirits. The crowd was silent, listening to every word. But they made a mistake. They thought that showing us their cruelty would make us submit. Instead, They showed us exactly what kind of monsters we're fighting. They showed us that there can be no peace with creatures who murder children for entertainment. The applause was not loud or enthusiastic. It was cold and determined. By the 6th month, everything was ready. The virus had been tested and perfected. The delivery systems were built and deployed. The human fleet was larger and more advanced than it had ever been. Intelligence networks reported on every major Corvani installation. Dr. Yunji stood in her laboratory, looking at a single vial of clear liquid. Inside that vial was death for every Corvani in the galaxy. She had created the most effective biological weapon in history, designed to target one species with perfect precision. Second thoughts? Admiral Hyunwoo asked from the doorway. No, she said without hesitation, but I want to be clear about what we're about to do. This isn't war in any traditional sense. This is genocide. We're going to kill every single one of them. They killed 10 billion of us in a single day, he replied. They broadcast it as entertainment. They turned our children's deaths into tourist attractions. Yunji nodded and carefully placed the vial into its transport container. Then let's show them what human entertainment looks like. Admiral Hyunwoo activated his communication device and sent a coded message to every human ship, base, and resistance cell in the galaxy. 3 words that would change the course of galactic history. Operation Alien Extinct. The human fleet moved through space like death itself, silent and invisible. Admiral Jae-sung Ryu commanded Battle Group Alpha from the bridge of the destroyer Silent Vengeance. His target was the Corvani home system, heart of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Stealth systems holding steady, reported his tactical officer. Enemy sensors show no sign of detecting us. Jae-sung nodded, watching the tactical display that showed the positions of his 50 ships. Each vessel carried enough biological weapons to kill every living thing on a planet. Today, they would use them all. 3 star systems away, Captain Taemin Lee piloted his ship Retribution toward the Corvani industrial worlds. His mission was to destroy the factories that built their war machines and poison the workers who operated them. Sir, I'm detecting massive military installations on the 3rd planet, his science officer reported. Population estimated at 2 billion Corvani. Good, Taemin said quietly. More targets. On the occupied human worlds, Lieutenant Dong Hyun Song received the signal he had been waiting for. Operation Alien Extinct had begun. His resistance fighters emerged from their hiding places, carrying weapons that Earth had secretly delivered over the past month. Remember the plan, he told his team as they prepared to assault the Corvani command center on Hanseong. We need to disable their communications first. We cannot let them warn other worlds about what's coming. Agent Soo-jin Bae was already inside the Corvani capital world's main communication hub. For 3 months, she had worked as a maintenance slave, carefully mapping the facility and identifying key systems. Now she moved through the corridors with deadly purpose. The Corvani guards paid no attention to another slave going about her duties. They had no idea that the small device she carried could shut down all interstellar communications for the entire sector. At exactly 1200 hours Galactic Standard Time, the attack began. Jae-sung's fleet dropped out of stealth directly above the Corvani homeworld. The planet below was beautiful, covered in purple oceans and silver cities that housed 40 billion aliens. In moments, it would all be dead. Deploy the virus, Jae-sung ordered. 50 ships released their weapons simultaneously. Thousands of small capsules entered the planet's atmosphere, designed to break apart and spread their contents through air and water. The virus was invisible, odorless, and absolutely lethal to Corvani biology. On the planet's surface, aliens went about their normal lives for the first few hours. They worked in their factories, attended their schools, and watched entertainment broadcasts about the humans they had conquered. None of them knew they were already dead. Captain Taemin's attack on the industrial worlds was more dramatic. His ships used kinetic weapons to destroy major cities before deploying the biological agents. Huge towers of metal and crystal collapsed as human missiles struck them with the force of small nuclear weapons. That's for New Busan, Taemin whispered as he watched a Corvani factory complex explode in brilliant light. The resistance fighters struck at the same moment across all occupied human worlds. Donghyun's team stormed the command center on Hanseong, using explosive charges and captured alien weapons to clear the building floor by floor. No prisoners, he ordered his fighters. Remember what they did to our families. The Corvani soldiers they fought were unprepared for human fury. They had grown comfortable during their 6-month occupation, treating the conquered worlds like vacation destinations. They expected no serious resistance from the few human survivors. They were wrong. Agent Sujin activated her device inside the communication center, sending a powerful electromagnetic pulse through the facility systems. Every computer, every transmitter, every piece of equipment that could send a warning to other Corvani worlds went dead in the same instant. Communication blackout successful, she reported through her hidden transmitter. They cannot warn their other worlds. The Corvani finally realized they were under attack when their soldiers started dying in impossible ways. The biological weapon worked exactly as Dr. Yunji had designed it. Within 6 hours of exposure, Corvani immune systems began to fail. Within 12 hours, they started bleeding from their eyes and breathing passages. Within 24 hours, they were dead. On the homeworld, panic spread as the alien population began to understand what was happening. Hospitals filled with dying Corvani who had no idea what was killing them. Their doctors had no cure for a weapon designed specifically to target their genetics. War Commander Vexthar, the alien who had broadcast the human massacre 6 months earlier, was among the first to die. He spent his final hours in agony, his 4 eyes bleeding as his body shut down system by system. But the humans were not finished. While the biological weapons killed the adult population, human soldiers landed on key worlds to rescue any remaining human survivors and eliminate Corvani military installations. Sergeant Da-Yun Lim led a rescue team to a labor camp on one of the outer worlds. They found 200 human survivors, including children who had been forced to work in alien factories. "You're safe now," she told a group of terrified children. "We're taking you home." One little girl, maybe 7 years old, looked up at her with empty eyes. "Are the bad aliens dead?" "Yes," Da-Yun replied. "They're all dead. The first wave of attacks destroyed 3 major Corvani star systems and killed over 60 billion aliens in 48 hours. The biological weapon spread exactly as intended, carried by air currents and water systems to reach every living creature on the targeted worlds." Dr. Yunji monitored the results from Earth, watching as her creation performed its deadly work. She felt no satisfaction, only a cold determination to see the job finished. "Viral deployment successful on all target worlds," she reported to Admiral Hyunwoo. "No survivors detected. Ready for Phase 2. Phase 2 would target the outer military bases and slave worlds where the Corvani kept other conquered species. Intelligence suggested that over 300 billion more aliens would die in the next wave of attacks." Ambassador Hiram O received the first responses from potential alien allies. The Zelani Republic offered to provide ships and weapons for the human war effort. The Thorgan communes volunteered to share intelligence about Corvani defensive positions. "They're calling humans the Deathbringers now," she reported. "Some are afraid of us, but others see this as their chance for freedom." The galaxy was beginning to realize that something unprecedented was happening. For the first time in millennia, the Corvani Empire was losing. Not just battles, but entire worlds were going silent with no explanation. Captain Taemin received new orders as his fleet finished destroying the industrial worlds. "Proceed to the Corvani Military Academy system. Target all training facilities and instructor populations." "Understood," he replied. "How many more worlds?" "All of them," came the answer from Earth Command. "Every single Corvani world in the galaxy." On the occupied human worlds, the liberation continued. Resistance fighters found hidden bunkers where human children had been kept as slaves or experimental subjects. The rescue teams were often too late. Many children had been tortured or killed for alien entertainment, but some survived. Lieutenant Dong-hyun led his fighters through the ruins of what had been New Seoul Colony. The beautiful domed city was now a wasteland, but they found 12 survivors hiding in the underground maintenance tunnels. "How long have you been down here?" he asked an elderly man who was clearly starving. "Since the first day," the man replied. "We heard the screaming stop about 2 days ago." "Are they really gone?" Dong-hyun looked up at the surface where Corvani bodies lay rotting in the alien sun. "They're gone. All of them." The old man began to cry, not from sadness but from relief that had been 6 months in coming. As reports came in from across the galaxy, the scope of human revenge became clear. The Corvani Empire that had ruled hundreds of worlds for thousands of years was dying in a matter of days. Their mighty fleets were trapped on dead worlds with no living crews to operate them. Admiral Hyunwoo stood in Earth Defense Command, watching the status displays that showed red markers appearing across the galaxy. Each red marker represented a Corvani world that had gone silent. "Sir," Lieutenant Tejo reported, "we're detecting emergency transmissions from some outer Corvani territories. They know something is wrong, but they don't know what. How long before they figure out it's biological warfare?" Dr. Kim estimates another 72 hours, assuming they can get samples from affected worlds. "That's enough time," Hyunwoo decided. "Launch Phase 2. I want every Corvani world hit before they realize what's killing them." The human war machine moved into its second phase with perfect coordination. More fleets launched from Earth and the surviving colonies. More biological weapons were deployed. The great extinction of the Corvani species accelerated. In her laboratory, Dr. Yoonji prepared the final batches of virus that would ensure no Corvani anywhere in the galaxy could survive. She had perfected her creation beyond her original plans. This version was not just lethal, it was absolutely inescapable. The Corvani Empire finally understood what was happening to them when their scientists examined bodies from the dead worlds. War Marshal Krexvoth, the highest surviving military commander, stood in the emergency command center on the fortress world of Kelvin Prime, staring at reports that seemed impossible. "A biological weapon," the chief medical officer explained, his 4 eyes wide with terror. "Designed specifically to target our genetic structure. Nothing like this has ever existed before." "How many worlds have we lost?" Krexvoth demanded. 47 confirmed dead. No survivors anywhere. Another 62 worlds show early infection signs. The officer's voice shook. "Marshal, at current spread rates, our entire species will be extinct within 30 days. Krexvoth slammed his fist on the command table. The humans were supposed to be broken, defeated, too scared to fight back. Instead, they had created the most effective weapon of genocide in galactic history. "Send word to all remaining worlds," he ordered. "Full military mobilization. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have. If we're going to die, we'll take those human animals with us." On Earth, General Woo Jin Park, Admiral Hyunwoo's younger brother, oversaw the construction of humanity's ultimate weapons. The planet killer ships were massive vessels, each one the size of a small moon, designed to crack entire worlds in half. "How many can we build?" Admiral Hyunwoo asked during his visit to the shipyards. 12 are already complete," Woo Jin replied. "Another 8 will be ready within 2 weeks. Each one can destroy a planet in minutes." "Good. The Corvani are finally realizing what's happening to them. They'll try to counterattack soon." The counterattack came sooner than expected. Surviving Corvani fleets, desperate and furious, launched suicide missions against human worlds. They no longer cared about military objectives or strategic value. They just wanted to kill as many humans as possible before the virus finished them off. Commander Yoo Jin Choi led Special Forces teams deep into Corvani space to prevent exactly these kinds of desperate attacks. Her mission was to infiltrate the core worlds that still had living populations and assassinate their military leaders before they could organize effective resistance. "Remember," she told her team as they prepared to drop onto the Corvani military command world. These aliens filmed themselves murdering human children for entertainment. "No mercy, no prisoners. Kill them all." Her soldiers nodded grimly. Every human in the military had watched the original broadcast. They had seen their friends, family members, and fellow citizens tortured and murdered while the galaxy watched. There would be no forgiveness. Yoo Jin's team landed on Corvani Prime under cover of darkness, using stealth technology that made them nearly invisible. Their target was the Grandi Military Academy, where the Empire's top generals were meeting to plan their final offensive against humanity. The Academy was a massive complex of crystalline towers and metal domes, beautiful in its alien architecture. In 6 hours, it would be a smoking ruin filled with corpses. Meanwhile, the biological weapon continued its relentless work across Corvani space. Dr. Yoonji had created something that was not just a virus. It was an extinction event specifically designed for one species. The weapon mutated slightly as it spread, becoming even more effective at killing its targets. On the dying world of Corvin Alpha, the planet's last surviving administrator sent a desperate message to any ships that might be listening. "This is Administrative Commander Seklon of Corvin Alpha. Our population of 20 billion is dead or dying. The human weapon cannot be stopped. It spreads through air, water, even through touch. We estimate 6 hours before the last of us dies. The message continued. We should not have attacked the humans. We thought they were weak because they showed mercy to their enemies. We were wrong. They are not weak. They are the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever known. The transmission ended when Zeklon collapsed, bleeding from his breathing holes as the virus completed its work. Back on Earth, President Jin Park addressed the planet in a speech that was broadcast across all human space and intercepted by every surviving alien civilization. 6 months ago, the Corvani Empire murdered 10 billion of our people, she said, standing before the memorial wall that listed every victim's name. They thought this would break our spirit. They thought we would submit to them out of fear. Her voice grew harder. They were wrong. Humans do not submit to bullies. We do not forgive the murder of our children. We do not forget. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Today I can report that 3/4 of the Corvani Empire is dead. Within 2 weeks, their species will be extinct. This is not revenge. This is justice. This is what happens when you declare war on humanity. Across the galaxy, other alien species watched the broadcast with mixtures of joy and terror. The Corvani had oppressed them for centuries, but the speed and efficiency of human retaliation frightened them. The Thorgan commune sent a message to Earth. We celebrate the fall of our oppressors, but we must ask, will humanity stop with the Corvani? Ambassador Hiremo drafted the response carefully. Humanity has no quarrel with species that live in peace, but anyone who harms human civilians will face the same fate as the Corvani Empire. The message was clear. Humanity was willing to be friends, but their enemies would face complete extinction. The Corvani launched their final desperate offensive 3 days later. Every surviving ship, every remaining soldier, every weapon they could still operate was thrown at human targets. War Marshal Krexvoth personally led the assault on Earth's outer defensive stations. If we must die, he broadcast to his remaining forces, let us die fighting these human demons. Captain Taemin Lee commanded the human defensive forces that met the Corvani attack. His ship Retribution had been upgraded with the most advanced weapons humanity could build. More importantly, his crew fought with the cold fury of people who had watched their species nearly face extinction. Sir, enemy fleet detected, his tactical officer reported. 200 ships, all types. They're not trying to survive this battle. It's a suicide run. Good, Taemin replied. Let's help them die. The space battle that followed was the largest in galactic history. Human ships fought with advanced technology and superior tactics, while the Corvani fought with desperate rage and nothing left to lose. Commander Yujin's mission on Corvani Prime succeeded beyond expectations. Her team had not only assassinated the military leadership, but had also planted biological weapons throughout the planet's water supply. The virus spread rapidly through the remaining population. Mission complete, she reported as her team prepared for extraction. No survivors expected. Dr. Sang-Ho Lee, Captain Taemin's brother, had been captured during the early days of the war. For months he had endured torture and experimentation as the Corvani tried to develop a human-specific plague. Now as his captors died around him from the virus, he worked to sabotage their final biological weapons. The humans have already won, he told the dying Corvani scientist who had tortured him. Your species is finished. The only question now is whether you'll succeed in creating a weapon that could hurt my people. The alien looked at him with fading eyes. You are monsters. We only killed your soldiers and civilians. You are killing our entire species. You made this choice when you murdered our children on live broadcast, Sang-Ho replied. You wanted to show the galaxy what happens to species that defy you. Instead, you showed the galaxy what happens to species that harm humanity. The Corvani scientist died while trying to destroy his research. Sang-Ho made sure the work was completely ruined. As the space battle around Earth continued, more reports came in from across the galaxy. The biological weapon had reached even the most remote Corvani outposts. Entire star systems that had been part of the Empire for thousands of years were going silent. Lieutenant Kyungmin Moon, fighting aboard one of the human destroyers, watched Corvani ships explode in brilliant flowers of light. Each explosion represented hundreds or thousands of aliens who would never again threaten human children. Sir, the enemy flagship is breaking apart, he reported to his captain. Through the view screen, they watched War Marshal Krexvoth's command ship split in half, its hull cracking under the pressure of internal explosions. The last leader of the Corvani military died in the cold vacuum of space, his species' 3,000-year empire ending in fire. Colonel Jia Young Shin commanded ground forces that landed on Corvani worlds to secure any remaining military installations. Her soldiers wore protective suits, but the biological weapon was so effective that most worlds were already empty by the time they arrived. "It's like walking through a graveyard," one of her soldiers reported after exploring a Corvani city.
40 million aliens lived here 3 days ago.
"Now there's nothing but bodies." "Good," Jia Young replied. "That's 40 million aliens who will never hurt another human child." The final phase of Operation Alien Extinct began when Dr. Yunji released the perfected version of her virus. This new strain was designed to survive in space, spreading between worlds through natural cosmic processes. It would ensure that no hidden Corvani populations could survive to rebuild their empire. "This is it," she told Admiral Hyun-woo, as she prepared the final deployment. "After this, there will be no Corvani anywhere in the galaxy. Ever." The galaxy fell silent. For the first time in 3,000 years, no Corvani voices spoke across the interstellar communication networks. No Imperial ships patrolled the space lanes. No tribute fleets collected taxes from subject worlds. The mightiest empire in galactic history had simply stopped. Admiral Hyun-woo Park stood in the Earth Defense Command Center, watching the final status reports scroll across his displays. Red markers covered the galactic map, each one representing a Corvani world that had gone silent forever. "Sir," Lieutenant Tae-ho Kim reported, his voice showing the exhaustion they all felt. "Deep Space Monitoring confirms the last Imperial outpost went silent 6 hours ago. No Corvani communications detected anywhere in the galaxy." "How long since the final deployment?" Hyun-woo asked. 72 hours. "Sir, Dr. Kim's enhanced virus has reached every known Corvani location." Dr. Yoonji Kim entered the command center at that moment, still wearing her laboratory coat. She looked older than her years, her face showing the weight of what she had created. In her hand, she carried a data pad with the final analysis. "It's over," she said simply. "The Corvani species is extinct. Every single one of them. The virus worked exactly as designed." Hyun-woo nodded slowly. "Total death count? 847 billion Corvani, plus approximately 40 billion members of symbiotic species that shared their genetic markers." Yoonji's voice was steady, professional. "No survivors anywhere." The number hung in the air like a weight. 847 billion intelligent beings dead in less than 2 weeks. It was the largest act of genocide in galactic history, and humanity had committed it with cold precision. "Sir," Communications Officer So Ra-yoon called from her station, "we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different alien governments. They want to negotiate terms to avoid this." She gestured at the map covered in red markers. "Tell them we'll respond after we finish our current operations," Hyun-woo ordered. "We still have work to do." That work was the systematic destruction of every Corvani military installation, research facility, and government building in the galaxy. Captain Taemin Lee commanded the fleets that visited each dead world, using planet-killer weapons to crack open planets that had served as Imperial strongholds. "Target confirmed," Taemin reported as his ship approached the former Corvani capital world. 40 billion dead on the surface. No remaining military threats. "Proceed with planetary destruction," came the order from Earth. The planet killer fired its main weapon, a focused beam of energy that penetrated to the planet's core. Within minutes, the world that had been the center of an empire began to crack apart. Continents split and fell into seas of lava. Cities that had stood for millennia crumbled into dust. Taemin watched the destruction without emotion. This planet had been where the Order came from to murder 10 billion humans. Now it was just another dead rock floating in space. President Jin-ae Park addressed the galaxy from the rebuilt memorial on Earth. Behind her, the wall now held additional names, the human soldiers who had died in Operation Alien Extinct. The total was surprisingly small. Fewer than 10,000 humans had been killed in the entire war. "Today marks the end of the Corvani Empire," she announced to billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. "The species that murdered our children, that broadcast their deaths as entertainment, that turned human suffering into tourist attractions, they no longer exist." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "Let this be a lesson to every intelligence in the galaxy. Humanity is willing to coexist peacefully with any species that respects our right to exist. But if you harm our people, if you threaten our children, if you think human mercy is human weakness, you will join the Corvani in extinction." The broadcast ended with images of the dead Corvani worlds, barren planets where great cities had once stood. The message was clear. This was what happened to enemies of humanity. Ambassador Hiram found herself busier than ever as alien governments rushed to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. The Zelani Republic offered a formal alliance. The Thorgan communes proposed a mutual defense treaty. Dozens of smaller species sent messages of friendship and cooperation. "They're terrified of us," she reported to the cabinet. "Some are calling humans the death speakers or the extinction bringers. They've never seen anything like what we did to the Corvani." "Good," Minister So-Young Choi replied. She had not smiled since her daughter's death, but her voice held grim satisfaction. Fear will keep them from making the same mistake. Not all humans were comfortable with what they had become. Some colonies declared independence from Earth, disturbed by the complete genocide of an entire species. The colony world of New Geneva sent a message denouncing the monstrous transformation of human civilization. General Wu Jin Park was tasked with responding to these rebellious colonies. His message was simple and direct. Humanity is united in this. You can be part of human space or you can be on your own, but you will not interfere with our defense policies. Most of the colonies chose to remain part of human space. The few that maintained independence found themselves isolated, cut off from Earth's protection and resources. Dr. Sang-Ho Lee, finally rescued from his Corvani prison, worked with medical teams to treat the surviving human prisoners found on dead worlds. The rescues had saved fewer than 50,000 people from the entire empire. The Corvani had been very thorough in their original massacre. How many could we have saved if we'd acted faster? One of the medical officers asked him. None, Sang-Ho replied. The Corvani killed most of the prisoners in the first day of our attack. They knew they were losing, so they took as many humans with them as they could. The rescued survivors were traumatized beyond anything the medical teams had seen before. Many could not speak. Others spoke only to ask if the Corvani were really all dead. When told that the entire species was extinct, some began to cry with relief. Lieutenant Dong Hyun Song, who had led the resistance on Hansong, found himself appointed as the military governor of the reclaimed human worlds. His job was to rebuild the colonies that had been destroyed 6 months earlier. "We'll make them better than they were before," he promised the returning colonists, "and we'll make sure everyone remembers what the price was for attacking us." Each rebuilt colony included a memorial to the victims of the original massacre. The memorials showed images from the Corvani broadcasts, preserved forever as a reminder of why the Empire had to die. Commander Yoo-Jin Choi returned from her deep space missions with reports that satisfied Earth's leadership. Every Corvani installation has been destroyed. Every research facility has been eliminated. Every government building has been reduced to rubble. There is nothing left of their civilization except ruins. Agent Soo-Jin Bae's final mission was to plant monitoring devices throughout former Corvani space. These sensors would detect any signs of life that might have survived the virus. Her reports confirmed what everyone already knew. The galaxy's former masters were completely extinct. "It's strange," she transmitted during her last check-in. "These worlds were full of life just 2 weeks ago. Billions of beings living their daily lives. Now there's nothing but silence and empty cities." Dr. Yoon-ji Kim spent her final days working on a different kind of virus, one designed to break down the biological weapon she had created. She wanted to ensure that her creation could not mutate or spread to threaten other species. "The galaxy should never see a weapon like this again," she told her research team. "What we did was necessary, but it should never be repeated." Her neutralizing agent was deployed across former Corvani space, breaking down any remaining traces of the extinction virus. Within weeks, the affected worlds would be safe for other species to inhabit, if they dared. Admiral Hyunwoo Park made one final tour of the dead Corvani capital world before it was completely destroyed. He walked through the empty streets of the alien city, past the buildings where the orders had been given to massacre human children. Was it worth it? Captain Taemin asked him as they stood in what had been the Imperial Palace. "Ask me that question again in 50 years, Hyunwoo replied. "When human children can grow up without fearing that aliens will murder them for entertainment." The final act of Operation Alien Extinct was the creation of the Galactic Memorial Database. Every human who had died in the original massacre was listed by name, along with their age, occupation, and family members. The database was broadcast continuously throughout the galaxy, ensuring that no species would ever forget the cost of attacking humanity. Historian Min Jun Kim, Dr. Yoonji's son, was tasked with documenting the complete story of the war. His official history would be required reading in every human school and would be translated into every known alien language. "How do we explain what we became?" he asked his mother during one of their interviews. "We tell the truth," she replied. "We were a peaceful species until someone forced us to become something else. We didn't choose to be genocidal. We chose to survive." President Jeannie Park held the final ceremony at the Galactic Memorial on Earth. Representatives from dozens of alien species attended, along with the families of the human victims. She placed a wreath at the base of the memorial wall and spoke the words that would define humanity's place in the galaxy.